Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful.
You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. The show is also brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. Our next story is a very special one. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is another Villages Update. That's right. HOA living at its best. Oh, there's the board president throwing a punch to the chair of the maintenance committee. Oh, and there's the maintenance committee chair throwing his chair. Yes, we're talking about how some of the nasty, ugly things are of HOA living. And what we're talking about today is the Blue Diamond Condo Towers in Miami Beach, Florida. Now, the Blue Diamond Condo Towers is probably one of the most exclusive, one of the most well-known condo towers in Miami. It stands at about 45 stories high. To give you an idea, the top 2 stories of the building is one exclusive penthouse condo that has 2 stories, 11 bathrooms, a special rooftop private pool, and is marketed for about $20 million. So just goes to show that the ugliness, unfortunately, in HOA living follows everyone. What's happening here? Well, it all began with a board election. The condo board election was approaching for the Blue Diamond Condo Towers. And weeks leading up to the vote, condominium residents were starting to see that there was a lot of personal mudslinging that rivaled anything from any kind of political race that you've ever seen. There were allegations of sexual harassment, pool temperature manipulation. If there's one thing you don't want to do, you don't manipulate or change the pool temperature. Gosh darn it. And there's a vague reference with to the Holocaust as well, it said. It began with an anonymous letter. It always does. Nobody is ever adult enough to put their name to it. But an anonymous letter was slipped under the doors of hundreds of residents who receive a printed piece of paper adorned with a photo of Andrew Kane, who is on the board currently and is the sitting treasurer and is seeking re-election. Now, the letter, unsigned, of course, calls him a toxic human being. And they allege that his failings are dealing with sexual harassment, domestic violence, procuring an advantageous rental agreement for a Blue Diamond unit for his girlfriend. And the letter even claimed he frequently fought staffers to maintain the condo pool at a very cool 69 degrees. Now, Kane came back with his own piece. He said, "I love our community, the people who live there." Now, he believes he knows who they are, and he points out that they are Alex Roos and Linda Compinon, who are also sitting board members and are behind this. And he says that he throws back that they are lying and manipulative. And he goes on to talk about all of their failings. He said they have attempted to restrict my First Amendment rights. He said those same rights my grandparents suffered this fate 75 years ago. He accused them of conniving to profit from the condo cafe sales and living away from Miami much of the year and not even being an in-touch board member with what's going on at the association. Well, what do you do when things just get ugly like that? Is that Is that something that is just politics as usual? And if that is the problem, what is the solution? Well, over the last few years, we've seen and we've reported on this show, because of this kind of ugliness just in human behavior and what we see in the governance of homeowner associations, it's led a lot of state legislators to try and enact different statutes, different laws in place to try and curb and to try and stop this. But I'm just wondering, are they really tackling this problem correctly? What are some of the solutions that we've heard about in the past? Well, some will say, well, if you got someone who is just really inept, someone who is just really ugly and vulgar, let's set term limits on those who run for the board. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Because if they could only run for 2 terms, you could only have them for that time period. After that, they would be off and it wouldn't be an issue. The only problem is with that, and I think it's in the same debate when people talk about term limits for people in Congress and the Senate here on the federal level, and that is, what happens when you have someone who's really good? Someone that you really appreciate, someone who has a really a sound voice. Is it the case that the manipulative, the ugly, the vulgar, the self-centered people are the ones who run more often? Well, if you think so, then maybe you want term limits. But if you like the idea of there being some history, having some people who are very sound, and I've known some people who have served on their board of directors time and time again, and it has not been in any kind of manipulative way at all. Other things that state legislators have tried to do is they said, well, here's what we need to do. We need to have a special state election board to oversee HOA elections. Do we really need that? Do we really need to have that kind of babysitting that takes place in every individual neighborhood HOA community because people are not adult? It's too bad that you have a lot of people on the board like is happening here at the Blue Diamond that are just showing very ugly behavior. But, the problem is the adults aren't coming to the table, and I don't know that having a special HOA board run by the state would be the answer. The other answer other people are coming up with over and over again is an ombudsman office to field and take those complaints. But one of the things that I ask you to think about in this, and that is, who is really best able to take care of those issues when it comes to governance? There was a very important movie a number of years ago, and that was The Patriot. There was a fictitious character, Benjamin Martin, and he had a very rousing speech that he said at the state legislature. I'd like to play it because I think it's very poignant.
Why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? An elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can.
Captain Martin.
Okay.
I understood you to be a patriot.
That was from the movie The Patriot. I'm not trying to make a point that people who are elected in office are all tyrants, but he made a point. He said, why do I want to trade? He said one person who's a tyrant, who is overbearing with their power and authority, with someone else who could be overbearing with their power and authority. And that's what is unique in our country, and that's what's unique with what we have with a homeowners association. Because where do those kinds of people really get stopped in their tracks? How do you prevent the people who are tyrannical that will run for a board and stay on that board? How do you deal with those kinds of people? I'm going to talk about that next, but I'm going to take a break, so don't go away, and we'll wrap it up in the next segment here on Where You Live.